So it's been a while since I've posted, but well, I've been dealing with a lot of grief. About 15 since like November, and only 2 of those were from last year. And so now I'm looking at a lot. But there's one thing that it keeps popping up, and it's parent alienation. I think the hardest thing for anybody to really recognize, especially if you're in a couple's relationship, is before you plan to have families, you should really think about it, pre-thought. What if something happens, where we don't agree? Because the likelihood of that happening in our world now, with moralities and the flexibility to remove yourself from a relationship, but there's children involved in that. And when you come with children involved in it, it's a whole new ball. It's a whole new ball game. So there's a lot of dysfunction with that, but there's a lot of love that can come from it too. So what I'm trying to say is parent alienation is a true thing. And a lot of the times the fathers get alienated. Yeah, we talk about this nation where fathers are never included, that where is a fatherless family. But it all started way back before then. And then the father had to tune out. Example, I have let's just say we have a extended family member that is taking care of some kids. And I'm a family therapist. So I'm saying, well, where is, the father? Mother is incompatible, signed off rights, is actually in an institution. The father had to fight because it was forged that he signed off rights. But then by the time that came around, this extended family member said, okay, well, I'm having struggles because they are boys. I would like dad to be involved in it. Well, here where it goes. They wanted dad involved as long as he followed their orders. And that's not how it works. You need to understand your children, and when you give birth, even you are 23 chromosomes of your mom and you're 23 chromosomes of your dad. No matter if they're ever raising you, whether they died at the beginning when you first were born or later on in life, or they disowned you, or they're still in your family. They are forever biologically your parent, at least half. So you have gained 23 chromosomes from them. So to alienate them, it's almost as if saying that you're a dysfunction. They're not good. And then a kid will internalize it that they're not good because half of them they know. Half of them came from their parent. So when you sit there and instill in them that your parent is dysfunctional, they're horrible, they're addicts, or they're abusers or narcissists, or whatever freaking term you guys want to use, because narcissism is so rare and they are throwing that around. Abusers they can be abusive and not be narcissistic. You can have antisocials, you can have borderline, you can just be a freaking addict. Most of our country is addicts. They're addictions. They're not narcissists. They're addicts. And so they want to pander this whole narcissism thing. Their DSM classified, they don't even meet criteria. It's the same thing with ADHD. Most people don't even meet criteria. But everybody wants to, 1 out of the 3. It just doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is these kids will take the hit of it. And then you want to know why they're misbehaving? Well, you told them. You told them you're dysfunctional. You're dysfunctional because the parent that I don't like or I don't want involved, they're half of it. So they already know. Half of them is not disowned by you. So whatever adult energy or emotion you need to pull out to stuff your opinion down about the person you don't like, especially if it's in a relationship and you're divorcing them, that's your personal issues with them. Your kid is not personal issued unless you're going to make them property. And then you're using them. You're using them against the other person because the other person didn't fit your mold, or you guys didn't agree, or they didn't do what you told them. And so now your children are going to pay the price. And that is parent alienation. That is actually illegal. If you want your children to be healthy and mindful, just remember, you had a child with that person. So apparently that person was a good deal at the time. If not, maybe you should have thought about that. We have birth control. And I'm not saying that is like, I'm dismissing that. I'm just saying, think before you have a family. Because that is a high probability. If you break up, you're going to have personal feelings that you're not going to get over for years. And whatever you say and you do about that other partner will be transmitted to your child, and they will own it, and they will dismiss themselves, and they will dissociate from themselves, and they will actually cognitively distort and negatively talk about themselves, because they're going to say exactly what you say about the other person to themselves, because they are half of that other person. So if you don't think that you can control, maybe family plan. Or make sure you're isolated and they don't hear you talk about that. Because at some point, they are going to figure it out, and they're going to want to reach out to their parent. And then they will make the judgment at a certain age if what you did and if what you said about them is actually their point of view. Don't be a parent alienator. Include them when you need them. Support and, keep your kids safe, but also don't dismiss them. Because now we're finding in this special scenario, in the past, that they don't want this other person. They'd rather institutionalize the child instead of let the actual biological parent step in, even though the biological parent wants to step in. They just don't know how. So they've asked me to help, and now they're afraid. I'll help. Don't parent. Love your kids like you love yourself.